think the biggest headline today, Judiciary under siege, is the front page of the Daily Nation. What started as social media-fueled protests against alleged graft in one of Kenya's most hallowed institutions has now snowballed into a push for removal of some of the country's most senior judges. The Judicial Service Commission is now set to convene and discuss the elephant in the room, petitions for removal of judges, following months-long attacks by a section of senior lawyers and litigants over alleged corruption in the corridors of justice. Now, this push is being led by none other than the former President of the Law Society of Kenya, Nelson Havi. He's being backed by, among others, Gibson Kamau Kuria and Senior Counsel Ahmed Nasser Abdullahi. Will these 7 judges survive? Law Society of Kenya President has condemned their unfettered bribery and unethical conduct by judicial officers. Now, these are very serious allegations against judicial officers.
Yes.
Bribery and unethical conduct. Will it claim any of the 7 people that you see there on the front page of the Daily Nation? This, if at all it happens, will be a first. The only other person who has been removed from the lineup of judges of the Supreme Court in its history is none other than Nancy Barasa, who was the Deputy Chief Justice at that point. Akaenda akachuna mtu kwa mapua, akapoteza kazi hivyo. But now she's heading the Gender-Based Violence Commission.
Yes.
Yes. Right. So this, if it proceeds, it'll be very interesting to see. And what other plans, political undertones are there in the politics of who occupies a position within the Supreme Court? Other quick highlights on the front page of the Daily Nation today. Alarm as hundreds fail to report to varsities of a funding crisis. Many first and second year students in public universities are yet to report to various campuses for the second semester as uncertainty persists over release of government funds for the upkeep. Now, despite the Higher Education Loans Board holding billions of shillings, a court ruling that nullified the new funding model last December has frozen disbursements. This is a story on the back page. In effect, a lot of, and this is your university, Kenyatta University, ndo ametumia picha hapo. Yeah. Matters Education on the back page as well. Kuppet threatens to have schools shut if funding crisis persists. You do realize the entire education sector is facing a serious funding crisis. Universities hawajui kama wataendelea na wale wengine pesa haiko, wameambiwa ngojeni tu pesa itakuja.
The education sector in general is a mess.
It's a mess. Yes. Back to the front page, Bungei moved in police shakeup. Adamson Bungei, the Nairobi police chief who led his colleagues in clamping down on protests last year, has now been transferred following administrative changes made by Inspector General Douglas Kanja. Matters politics, Muturi continues to bear it all. He's there, that's just a highlight. The story is on page 8. And woman's journey of pain and resilience. A very interesting story of a woman, Joyce Ongombe, who is fighting for her life at Kenyatta National Hospital. And the story is on pages 2 and 3. That's the Daily Nation today. Tuangazie gazeti gani?
All right, the Standard: MPs live up to their laundry tag yet again. That is the top story on the Standard. Now, members of the National Assembly had no problem giving Ruto the nominees he picked without much consideration, putting to question their role in the appointing process, even as the president hopes the team will not only steady the Kenya Kwanza ship, but also deliver the plan. Right. You know, people are saying they have never rejected any. Actually, they have. Stella Langat.
That's
in August. Yes, the only one. They approved 19 last year, rejected only 1. So the questions are, hao ni laundry wanaosha tu, kupitisha.
Unapewa mwosho moja. Ukienda bunge, unatoka hapo, bas. Clean bill of health. Interesting.
Buddy walks a tightrope as he proposes to increase budget to 4.3 trillion Kenyan shillings. Now, Treasury has laid down an ambitious budget it hopes will not just be favorable to Kenyans, but also deliver the government's development agenda. However, increasing taxes will be met with resistance, but the borrowing options are also limited. In the policy proposal, Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi thinks issuing bonds will be, what is that? Will be pansy to filling the holes.
Panacea. Panacea.
Panacea?
Yes.
Will be panacea to filling the holes. That is on page 4 and 5 of the Standard.
Question is, are we being too ambitious with this budget? Remember even the 3.8 trillion shilling budget.
We are.
Many people felt, okay, fine, if KRA cannot collect that much, why are we working on a budget where we borrow at least 1 trillion shilling? every year. Now we've moved from 3.8 trillion to 4.3. That's about $500 billion shillings more. Most of which will have to go with a begging bowl and say, tumeunda budget yetu, tunaomba mtusaidie.
Naona wana risk tena. You see what happened in June last year?
Because the government hopes to raise only 3.01 trillion shillings through normal taxation. So it means that more than 1 trillion shillings, that's 1.2 trillion shillings, will have to be probably come from lenders. Yes.
Another story there is, I was beaten, stripped and starved. That is Bernard Kavuli, one of the 5 abductees released last week. He went to church to thank God for his safe release, telling horror stories of his experience with kidnappers. That is on page 3. It's actually the first one, the only one, was talked of his ordeal in the hands of his captors.
So if you want to know what happens to abductors once they are in the hands of those hooded men, the story is on page 3 of the Standard, and he describes in detail what happened to him.
JSC to consider plea to kick out Koome and 8 judges. The Judicial Service Commission says it is looking at 4 petitions seeking the removal of 9 judges presiding over cases at the Supreme Court and the High Court. Same story on the Daily Nation.
All right. More quick highlights on the top strip of this front page of the Standard. KCSE graduates in limbo of varsity placements. That story, we've seen it on the Daily Nation as well. On the international front, inflation, Nigerians change diet. Wanakula nini? Sio fufu. Government hand in tea farm wars matters business. And finally in sports, Arteta feels Arsenal still in title race. Now to flip the paper, talk about local sports. Chan, mixed reactions as Stars land in a group of death. So Kenya, the die is cast and the delayed 2024 African Nations Championship Chan will be held in Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania in August of this year after the draw was conducted at KICC on Wednesday night. However, it was not the night many Kenyans were expecting after national team Harambee Stars was drawn in what is being considered the group of death in the tournament that was initially supposed to kick off in February. So Kenya has been drawn alongside DR Congo, who are actually very good in football, Morocco, which are among the biggest giants in African football, Angola too, which are not so bad, and Zambia. So hapa Kenya ni kama kwa hiyo group sisi ndio tutaumia.
Tutashinda. Nani would say, Arusha would say, we will do it better. Yes.
And McDonald Mariga, the vice president of FKF, says, don't worry, tuko sawa, tunaweza gangana. Tungoje August tuone. As the hosts, if they will treat us with kid gloves. That is the Standard this morning. Tuangazie Taifa Leo. Wanasema baraza la wanasiasa.
Kabisa. Na kinyume na ahadi ya awali, rais ageukia vigogo kumsaidia kuzima mawimbi ya uasi. Na kuidhinishwa kwa mawaziri watatu wapya na bunge la kitaifa hapo jana kumefanya baraza la mawaziri la Rais William Ruto kutawaliwa na wanasiasa tofauti na mwanzoni mwa utawala wake alipoonekana kukumbatia zaidi wataalamu. Now we have an addition of William Kabogo, Lee Kinyanjui and Mutai Kagwe, who were approved yesterday for appointment.
Yes, and all these people have either served as members of the National Assembly, Senate, or as governors, because we have Kabogo, Lee Kinyanjui, Ali Hassan Joho, who've served both as MPs and governors. Initially, after the promulgation of the Constitution in 2010, the idea was that politicians will be left to Parliament, the houses of legislation, then Cabinet will be left to technocrats, wanaoitwa wataalamu. President Uhuru Kenyatta tried a bit of that, but even he eventually just fell back to a heavily political cabinet. William Ruto afichi, amejaza wanasiasa katika baraza la mawaziri.
That caricature yesterday, the one that was, he was dipping his hands kwa bucket.
Ni hao alikuwa na ukota. Huko ndani kwa, inaitwa nini ya takataka? Pipa la taka. Katoa hawa. Sio mimi nimesema ni magazeti. Unaweza nikasirikia bure, lakini kasirikeni.
Utamfanyia nini?
Vidokezo zaidi kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Pale juu wanasema Ruto Raila kuhudhuria kongamano la uwekezaji Nyanza. Rais Ruto na kinara wa ODM Raila Odinga watahudhuria kongamano hili la uwekezaji lililohairishwa awali. Habari yenyewe kwenye ukurasa wa 4. Mabadiliko ya wakuu wa polisi pia ni habari ambayo imepewa kipaumbele kwenye ukurasa hii. Kurasa wa mbele anasema kamanda wa polisi Nairobi Bungei kati ya waliohamishwa. Pale chini Wakenya wengi wamekata tamaa ya makazi. Hii ni ripoti ya KNBS yasema Wakenya walijishughulisha na mahitaji ya msingi. Na maafisa wa kaunti gizani baada ya stima kukatwa na KPLC. Huku ni wapi?
Tana River.
Hawajalipa bill. Aha.
Huko ni kwa yule who is now being given very much support. No, that one is Trans Nzoia.
Natembea. Hapa ni Tana River, hawajalipa Kenya Power. Lipa bill. Israeli yaua 46 baada ya mwafaka. Maafisa waliothibitisha watu 46 waliouawa jana kutokana na shambulizi la Israel. Masuala ya Middle East. Tukiangazia gazeti lingine, People Daily.
How Ruto built Abduction squad is the top story there. Now, after disbanding Special Service Unit, President assembled lethal team drawn from police, DCI and military to crack down on dissenters, claims rights crusader.
So yes, ni kama wanasema rais alikaa chini akasema mimi nataka leta ule jeshi, leta huyu. Namna gani sasa? Kazi yenyu ni hii. That's according to the People Daily. I think it's how they crafted the headline, how Ruto built Abduction squad. That's a big headline there. And this story also features in the other dailies. It's not only on the People Daily. It's only that the People Daily has decided that this is a bigger story for this paper today.
On the top strip, fatten our parks, greedy MPs tell new pay team.
Yes. And yesterday, as they talk about the House of Parliament being a laundry, it's not just that they were approving the names of the nominees for CS positions, they were approving names of nominees to some very serious constitutional commissions like the Salaries and Remunerations Commission and Public Service Commission as well. So when they were talking about and debating the nominees for the SRC, they said na tunapatia kazi lakini mkumbuke sisi pia muongeze pesa yetu. MPs hawajisahau. Washaambiwa ndio tunawapea kazi lakini pesa yetu muongeze, wamekuwa wakikata sana. So I don't know if the SRC will be pressured to increase the parks for MPs as they've been directed now that they have finally been approved.
Matters Education, Kuppet rubbishes grade 9 rollout. That story is on page 6. Hapo kumekuwa na shida. No classrooms.
Yes, you know, Kuppet represents post-primary teachers, teachers in the secondary school. They've been denied a whole class because now they do not have Form 1s. Now they have a whole stream of classes that should be empty. They were hoping that grade 9 would actually transition to secondary schools, lakini wapi. So pia pale kuna shida ya fedha. Ile walikuwa wamezoea kuingiza na Form 1 hakuna. That's why they are complaining. As a People Daily, matters business.
Now, top counties in borrowed shared phone use revealed. Now, a new survey on mobile phone and internet usage shows that Nyandarua, Nakuru and Laikipia counties have the highest population of residents using borrowed mobile phones in Kenya. Fresh data by KNBS shows that 22.2% of Nyandarua residents use mobile phones borrowed from neighbors, family and friends. Watu wa Nyandarua.
Na Nakuru pia.
Where you come from?
Yes.
What is happening?
Ni kama simu hazitoshi. Lakini you know we share. We are very kind people. So kama kuna simu 3 na tuko watu 10, zinatosha.
Wacheni bwana.
After all, you're not always on your phone making calls. It's a gadget. Kitambo kabla tukuwe na hizi mobile phone na kila mtu ako na simu yake, tulikuwa na ile coin box ilikuwa shared. And if you are privileged enough to have that landline in your home, believe you me, then the entire village would be lining up to make calls and receive calls in your home.
Things are changing, Fred.
Yes. No.
Nunueni simu.
Sharing is caring.
Hakuna hiyo. Now, MPs push for pay raise shelved after Gen Z demos. MPs are pushing for the implementation of a salary increment frozen at the height of youth-led protest in June 2024. Kumbuka wamefanyia hiyo kitu SRC.
And people should actually take this seriously.
Yes.
MPs are asking for a pay rise. Unakubaliana now. Should MPs get a pay rise? Should MPs get a pay rise?
41% of urban dwellers favor rent controls. Now, 4 out of 10 Kenyans living in towns want the government to regulate rent to prevent arbitrary increases by landlords. This will be very nice.
Well, it's what do you call it? It's a liberal market. So how do you control rent as well?
Ni kuwa ambitious, but you know.
Interesting. Unfortunately, we do not have the e-paper copy for the Star, but we do have a physical copy. It's quite heavy today, being the weekend paper. The main headline on the front page of the Star says, State House ghost workers exposed. That's a big headline there. It also has an image of Raila Odinga meeting a number of African leaders as he continues with his last-minute campaigns for the AUC chairman's post. But back to the main story. A report shows that civil service has over 17,000 ghost workers, with Kenya Railways topping the list, and also State House being part of them. Kuna ghost workers hadi State House. Wanafaa wachunguze. Pale chini wanasema MPs wanasema keep off our pay, lawmakers warn just vetted salaries team. So wana threaten, we are giving you job, lakini mutupatie hiyo pesa. All right. So let's take a look at the cartoons. Alafu quote of the day tutaiangazia tukienda kufunga.
Yep.
The cartoons today, we do have 3 of them. And we start off with the one on the Daily Nation.
Your nominees will pass and the country will be more united. This is the former president Uhuru Kenyatta.
Advising his brother there. But now you see there's a leash on parliament.
Yeah.
Hapa wamesemekana they are laundry. Hapa kuna leash. So they're both very confident. The president, current president, telling the retired president, don't worry, your nominees will pass. Yeah, will pass. And the country will be united.
Yeah.
So kazi ya bunge wasijali. Hao nisha wasort.
Yeah.
So nominees wa. Na washapita, ni ukweli walipita haraka haraka.
Yeah. This is the one. Ini gani hii?
People Daily.
People Daily. That is Justin Muturi pale. Ana spill the beans.
I may spill the beans on abductions.
Yes.
Alafu kwa akili yake anasema
fire me.
Na jana nilisikia leader of majority in bunge akisema that MPs, unajua there's been a lot of talk about how they will impeach Muturi. Kimani Ichung'wah said no, we will not bother with impeaching any other CS.
Yeah.
So they're very cautious about how they're going to treat CS Muturi. Unless now the president undertakes a wide reshuffle of the entire cabinet, then therein remove him quietly.
Yeah.
But targeting him alone, there's a bit of caution. That's the cartoon on the People Daily, and this is a standard.
That is NIS boss. Who, what? Nordin Haji. Who, what, when, where, and why? Ameshika hizo vitu za, is it arrest or abductions? Me?
He's very confident and even arrogant, if I may say so. Mutafanya, what, when, how, why? He doesn't have to answer. You know, that's the question. When it comes to NIS, they don't have to answer any question to anyone. Yeah. Police, yes, probably IPOA can summon even the IG and ask a few questions. Who is going to summon NIS boss?
The president. Nani alipiga simu
na
wakatoa Leslie.
Akapiga simu akaambia achilie kijana. All right, these are just some of the conversations we'll be having with my panelists later on after the break. If we can have that poster for the guests.
Okay.
Even as we prepare for
the quote of the day.
Quote of the day.
Tumengoja sana.
Again, it's Friday, people have time. Wanaweza kaa tu hapo wangoje. Yeah, let's listen to the quote of the day.